What is going on, everyone? I have a chat already, and it's Jared. And who is this? 6-day carload. Hi, I want to offer promotion of your channel viewers, followers, views, and chatbots. The price is lower than any competitor. The quality is guaranteed to be the best. Well, 6-day carload, thank you for the offer. But here at Kel's Corner, we ride or die. On our own merit. So this channel will survive or not based off of my own wants and desires. What was that little screen? That little screen was in fact a small little list of questions that I have. But for some reason, some of my windows aren't pulling up. So I'm actually trying to get that going. Let me go ahead and start the music. There we are. This channel is dying, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. I don't know why that's not pulling up. That is weird. That doesn't want to pull up. You know what, let me try it on this one. See, paste transform. Huh. That's interesting. For some reason, I actually cannot get the one tool up on here that I wanted to. Really? Huh, that's weird. Wait a second. Okay, so let me switch back over to this. Checking the properties. Gotta love OBS, folks. It's great when it works. Okay, so there's that. That's still not there. Okay, so let's close that out. All right, we're gonna try this one more time. Nope, still didn't work. Oh well. Oh boy. Well, I wanted to show something. I'm not gonna be able to. The one thing that I did want to show. Well, actually, I could do something, but I'm probably not. I'm not preferable to doing it. But I can probably tweak it in such a way to make it work. All right, let me see something here. This, yes. This one, okay. And then write that down. Yeah, okay, so now that's up. So if I put this over here, we move that up there, and we can just do that. Hey, there we go. I know you guys can't see this. I'm just editing on my side. Well, I'll show it to you whenever I need to. Whenever I need to show it to you. I got it working for what I need. But we'll handle that when the time comes. All right, let me go and pop out of that mode. All right, so if you watch this channel regularly, thank you. Thank you for that. But as it's a Monday, you might be expecting us to work on Calendir's Dungeon. Now, I have been kind of busy in my life for a little bit, and over the past like 3 weeks or so, I have found it very hard to actually get motivated enough to dig into Dungeon 23, as sad as that may be. And I've found it more strenuous to try and come up with something. I wanted to come up with I wanted to come up with some kind of, theme for my next couple dungeons. We obviously did floor 1 and floor 2, and I had some stuff prepped, but I really just kind of got away from it. Looking into my list of stuff for it, I haven't done anything since February 26th. So with a lot of things going on in my life, I just haven't had the time to dedicate to it. And I know it's supposed to be something simple. It's supposed to be, just write, a couple things on here and there, and it's not a big deal. But it was being more of a big deal than it should have been. And that might be why I crashed on it. But I just want to give it some space for a little while. And I'm not saying that we're not going to come back to it at some point, but just for now, at least, we're going to set Calendir's Dungeon aside. We're going to let it be the, 50 some, however many rooms it was, 31 plus 25. So yeah, we got 56 rooms done. And for what it's worth, I was pretty happy with it. I have some ideas that I want to do with what we already have. I have the idea of possibly making the maps on a more robust program like Dungeon Draft. This way we can have, actual elemental, I guess weird enough to say, elemental elements. But I am looking at doing that. Are you guys hearing the music? I just realized that Kenku is not capturing. Okay. My whole setup right now is all messed up, and I have windows randomly opening now because they're on different monitors, and it's a big pain in the ass. Okay. And for some reason, even though I switched over the right thing, now Kenku. What do you hear? Oh, I see how it's going. Yeah, Jared. Yeah. All right, we're gonna switch this over to there, and then I can turn this up a bit. There we go. I just don't want it on my desktop sound. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, so because kind of what Jared is referring to, because I am gonna be putting Dungeon 23 off to the side for a bit, I'm gonna try and do some different things on my Monday night stream. So Thursdays is still gonna be, first 15. Sundays, whenever I run, either Phandalin 5 or Rime of the Frostmaiden, that's still gonna be those. But my Mondays, I kind of want them to be a little bit more loose and have a little bit more freedom to do with these streams, the stuff that I want. One of the things I've been talking about for a little while is doing DM advice, or I guess like D&D advice, tabletop role-playing advice in general. Obviously one of the things I love is D&D and tabletop RPGs, and I also love teaching. I like offering advice to folks whenever I can. So that is real. I want to do some of that. I also have some stuff that I'm working on as a side project. Actually posted some of that stuff today, but even with what I posted, I kind of, adjusted some things here and there with it. So we're gonna work on that. I want to work on some of that stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So it's, my Mondays, like I said, my Mondays are just going to be a little bit different than what I used to do. So the first thing though that I want to start out on, and I think I have this in the right spot. Yep, I got that there, and bing. Cool, and then that'll pull over. Awesome. Okay, 1 second. Why is this now messing up? Today is just my day, It's funny. It's funny. I would try and do something different, and things just aren't working out the way I thought they would. Oh well. We'll stumble through it together. Okay, so that's right. How's everyone's night going? Better than mine? All right, man, things are just working out. All right, cool. So yeah, let me all right, so as I said, something that I want to do is do that DM Academy stuff, but the first thing that I want to talk about is I've been working on a few things with a group of people, and one of the things that I really started digging into during this was creating actually like official looking kind of content for D&D, and I recently used this as a the tools that I use for that. I've recently made a subclass for the bards, and this stemmed from a chat that was in one of the discords that I follow for Morvold Press, where during one of the exchanges he had with the community, said that he was looking here, I actually have it pulled up on here. I'm not going to share my Discord screen, so apologies for me just reading off screen. He said, if you have any suggestions for the name of the theater and or Bard College / school, feel free to put suggestions in here. And so he referenced Lorehold from Strixhaven, so something along those lines. And there was a number of good comments in there. The College of Chaos, the Songhaven College, Songweavers Conservatory, the Troubadour Academy. And the one that I offered up was the Red Curtain College or Academy or Society, whatever he would want to go with. And when I saw it, because whenever I read theater, my first thought was kind of the stage performance, actors and thespians and bards that would focus more on performance. And so the Red Curtain is obviously a big key, image. It's a big part of theater. And after posting that, a few minutes later, I changed it because I love alliteration, and I started thinking about it. And so, obviously another word for red or another kind of red is crimson. So we went Crimson Curtain. So the College of the Crimson Curtain. And I was really, stoked about this, and I wanted to come up with, something that would go along with it, because I said, I could see this being a bard subclass, a character who was, a performer, somebody that was doing acts and performances to deceive an audience in a sense, because that's really what you're doing as an actor and as a thespian, is you're trying to make an audience believe what it is you are presenting to them, or you're at least trying to portray that it is real. So he continued his whole thing, but I sat down with this, and I was, granted, I was at work, so I probably shouldn't have been spending the next 3 hours doing this. But I was, I jumped on my phone and on a computer there and was just looking around for inspiration and stuff that maybe I could actually put together something. So putting some time into that, I kind of got into, thanks Justin. I put some time and effort into this, and then I sent it out to a few folks, looking for suggestions, and I got some back, and I've adjusted things here and there. There's actually one thing that I'm gonna change on here as I present this, but I wanted to present this on stream for one, to kind of show how to set something like this up, the pitfalls that come with this, and different things that you can do if you are looking to work on something like this. So I'm going to bring this up here. So what we are looking at right now, this is the GM binder. Now there is a second website. Let me pull it up over here first. So this is actually, I moved this over to the GM binder. So what we're looking at right here, this is the home brewery. This is home brewery natural crit, and this is a form that you can fill out. You have all of these editing tools over here, and with this you can make what looks like very official Dungeons and Dragons content. God damn it. Cool, yeah, agree with Justin. So this is the home brewery. I actually originally made it on here because unfortunately the GM binder kind of has some funkiness on mobile, but I made it on here. I actually transferred it over to the GM binder. Now, the big reason why I did that is because the GM binder is a site that offers a lot more style tools. Actually kind of talked about this with some of the folks that I mentioned over in Morvold Press's Discord about how I put this together. But this is one of the best tools that you can use. The GM binder has a lot of different libraries that you can look into if you are scouring the net for inspiration. It has, subclasses, it has races, it has, different repeating firearms, for example. We'll look at some of these. I'm going to pull up the Tenno because I recognize that name. But for example, right here, repeating firearms. I mean, look how beautiful this looks. And this is all stuff that you can't say racist anymore. Yeah, lineages. So this is all stuff that you can go in and edit. Now, this is their own custom font. You can put this stuff in there. It will walk you through it. But it does a lot of the hard work for you. There are a lot of DMs out there that are making stuff, and there's a lot of content creators that are using more sophisticated tools. Something like this is a lot more simple to use. And it really doesn't take a lot to figure it out. If we go in here and hit create, we'll just leave that all as is, and it literally has all the information for you. It explains, how you can add stuff, how you can, make things look a certain way, and you can always reference over here if you want to see how they're doing something. So yeah, like I said, we have stuff like items and equipment. You can do stuff like subclasses, obviously blood domain for a cleric. That's a really cool thing. And then this race, the Tenno is from the game Warframe, but comes from an older game known as Dark Sector, which I loved growing up. So I was actually pretty happy to see something like that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, glide. Oh God. But like I said, spending some time, if you are looking to create your own homebrew content, or even if you want to edit something and make it look more official, the GM Binder or the Homebrewery are two excellent resources that you can use. I'm going to put their links up here in the chat. So, again, the homebrewery.naturalcrit is basically a clone of this website, or they're a clone of one another, but it's a little bit more mobile friendly. The GM Binder actually has a bigger community library, but also offers a lot of style options. So I'll show a little bit of that off over here in this. So this is the subclass that I recently made. Again, the College of the Crimson Curtain, about thespians and actors and whatnot. And you can see that this looks more or less like any other D&D content out there. It has, familiar fonts, familiar formatting and whatnot. But you can actually change this up. If we just add an extra line, we'll click this wand, and let's say you want it to look like the Unearthed Arcana that is put out by Wizards of the Coast. If you are unfamiliar with what the Unearthed Arcana looks like, it's very simple, very straightforward. It's black and white. It has a certain font style. This is Unearthed Arcana. And what you can do is you can just click this, hit insert, and bam. It adds everything you need in here, and you can go in and actually change any of this. If you don't want to have the Cambria font, you can change that as you wish. And that's how people like that one with the repeating firearms. It's how they get that information on there. So, different ways, people like different formats. One of the nice things about the UA one is things are a little bit more compact. They're also a little bit easier to read. For example, I need to have this page break in here, regardless now, because I actually changed something. But before, whenever this was a little bit shorter, it actually fit in here, whereas it did not fit when I took that out. And you can see how easy that is to, switch around. If you can switch these in and out as you wish. It just changes, everything as is. But what we're gonna do real quick is I actually have something to change about this, and I kind of want to talk about my subclass real fast, because I got some advice and I actually changed something. So I'm going to be changing how one of the things in here works. But like I said, the College of the Crimson Curtain is for theaters. It is for theater performers and thespians, people that are out there acting, where these bards focus on using their theatrical performances to enchant and captivate their audience. These bards were once stage performers or actors, again, thespians, and have learned master level illusions and use them in their performance to mesmerize audiences. Eventually they get the ability to manipulate their illusions to kind of, you know, alter reality in a sense. They can terrify their enemies, enchant their enemies, and even create grand illusions that come to life and have physical manifestations. So a lot of this is more about control over enemies. You know, when we talk about different styles of combat, one of the ones is controllers, people, spellcasters who have abilities to make enemies a little bit worse at the stuff that they do. So things like fog, cloud, darkness, grease, slow, stuff that makes enemies, you know, makes it harder for enemies to actually do stuff in combat. And that's kind of what this is all about. So the first ability I have here is Mesmerizing Act. And what this is you get to use an action to begin a performance that enchants and brings everyone's attention towards you. During this time, these creatures are, you know, fully committed to you, and, you know, they are really just kind of dug into you. But whenever I put this out, a lot of the comments that I got back were that it was a little bit too powerful. So as you can see in here, it's as an action. I'm gonna bring this up a little bit bigger. You can begin performing for a group of creatures that you can see and hear within 30 feet. Each creature that you can see and hear must make a wisdom save against your spell save DC. And if a creature fails its save, it's charmed by you for an hour or until it takes damage or sees you attack or damage its allies. Creatures immune to this, or immune to being charmed, you know, automatically succeed. And you can use this a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. So it doesn't use your bardic inspiration. I wanted to have something that was, you know, just its own ability. But whenever I brought this up, somebody said it was just a little too powerful. You know, every creature within 30 feet is a big kind of area. And on top of that, an hour is very long. Also, I never put in like what charmed exactly meant. So if we pull up conditions on our wonderful website, 5e.tools. So a charmed creature can't attack the charmer or target them with harmful abilities or magical effects, and they have advantage to interact with them. Now this could mean that the person who's charmed might still hate them. They just can't attack them by mechanical, you know, by raw. Being charmed just means that you can't attack that person or affect them in any harmful way. So I did want to have this as if, you know, it was a little bit more grounded in its effect. I'm gonna just paste what I actually have here because I did kind of set it up already on the side. And simple enough to just paste that in, and there we go. So now what it reads: Mesmerizing Act. Starting at 3rd level, you gain the ability to captivate an audience with your performances. As an action, you can begin performing for a group of creatures that can see and hear you within 30 feet. Choose a number of creatures equal to your charisma modifier that can see and hear you. I don't actually think number of creatures within 30 feet. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong side. I don't need to have that it's see and hear twice. Creatures. Yeah, within, there we go. All right, so choose, yeah. As an action, you begin performing for a group of creatures within 30 feet. Choose a number of creatures equal to your charisma modifier that can see and hear you. Targeted creatures must make a wisdom save against your spell save DC. If a creature fails its saving throw, it is charmed by you for 10 minutes, or until it takes damage or sees you attack or damage its allies. A creature charmed in this way regards you as a friendly acquaintance. And then again, we have the same, you know, creatures that are immune, blah, 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 number of times a day equal to your charisma modifier. So as a third level ability, I do agree with some of the people that were saying that it was just too big. You know, it was all creatures within 30 feet for an hour. That's a hell of a long time. On top of that, you just, you know, let's say you make a, you know, bard third level. By that point, you might have a 3 or 4 in there. So, I mean, 3 to 4 creatures within, you know, that you can have charmed within 30 feet of you for 10 minutes. That's powerful as it is. Considering if you were to use this in combat, 10 minutes is an eternity. I mean, 1 minute is 10 rounds. So I do get this. Now, out of combat, this is still something that is useful. The hour was too long, but 10 minutes, this could be something where if the party was trying to get into, say, a ball or a dance, or to see someone important, you roll up to the guard gate, they're questioning your why you're there and what business you have, and the theater performer, the Crimson Curtain bard, begins doing this act, and they can target each one of the 4 guards that is standing there, and as long as they all fail, you have 10 minutes that you can now manipulate them. You know, oh, hey, you know, it's been a while since I've seen you. Look, I know that, you know, you're not supposed to let anyone in, but we're long friends. You know, I just got to see him for a couple minutes. And at that point, because of the way that Charmed works, you have advantage on ability checks to interact with them. So now you can start pulling that, like, hey, look, come on. We used to know each other. We've known each other for a long time. So, you know, this is kind of the idea that I had with this. Bards are used to captivating an audience for a long time. Yes. So in the beginning, the hour that I picked was more because of another ability that I saw. But if I were to alter any of this, I would maybe have something like this be a 14th level ability, which I don't, but, you know, that could be something that would be that could be tacked on, you know, at 14th level, or, you know, like have it be, you know, at 10th level, the amount of time, you know, increases to 30 minutes, and at 15th level it increases, or, you know, at 18th level or something, at 17th it increases to an hour, something like that. I don't have that in there. Might be something I might consider in the future, but it is what it is for now. But what really makes up the class, in my opinion, is these Crimson Curtain techniques. So at 3rd level, you gain access to techniques that allow you to manipulate the senses of your audience. Again, this is the core concept of the subclass. As an action, you can expend a use of your bardic inspiration to use a technique, and you choose 2 of them from the list below. Now, when I originally did this, I just had these, like, you can use them all the time. As I was starting to really dig into it and, you know, get community feedback, one of the people I was talking to said that, you know, maybe have it pulled from a bardic inspiration. Actually, they were referring to the capstone ability, and then I realized, like, all the other subclasses for bards use the you know, they use the bardic inspiration in some way, and I did not have that anywhere. So I decided to tie that into the techniques. So the way that this works is you pick 2 of these, and you now have access to those. And as an action, you can use your bardic inspiration to do something with this. So We have disorienting flash. You can use your performance to create a bright flash of light that disorients your enemies. All creatures within 30 feet that can see you must make a wisdom save. On a failed save, they're blinded until the end of their next turn. Echoes of the past. Use your performance to evoke memories of the past. All creatures within 30 feet that can see and hear you make an intelligence save, and on a failed, they're overwhelmed by memories and have disadvantage on ability checks and attacks until the end of their next turn. Illusory doppelganger. You can use your performance to create an illusory duplicate of yourself that appears within 30 feet. It lasts for a minute or until you take damage, and it moves and acts on your turn. And you can use a bonus action to have it move 30 feet or take the dash, disengage, or hide action. Creatures that can see this must succeed on an intelligence investigation check against your spell save DC to determine that it's an illusion. Siren Song. You can use your performance to create an irresistible melody that charms your enemies. All creatures within 30 feet that can hear you must make a wisdom save, and on a failed, they are charmed. Now that is just more straightforward. They're charmed by you. They can't attack you. This is definitely more for combat because this is only for 6 seconds. And one that I actually just added tonight, Dreadful Dirge. You use your performance to terrify your enemies with a sonorous lament. All creatures within 30 feet that can, I don't know why I put C, should just be here, that can hear you must make a wisdom save against, I have certain like things that I pull from, and like some of the phrasing in it is weird. So all creatures within 30 feet that can hear you must make a wisdom save against your spell save DC. On a failed, they become frightened of you for a minute. They can repeat the save at the end of each of their turns, ending the effect on a success. Now, funny enough, I actually have added to D&D Beyond. There's an old bard subclass called the Dirge Bard that is like about raising the undead and stuff like that. And this was kind of pulled from that because as I was looking into this, I was like, okay, we have blinded, we have disadvantage on checks, we have the illusory duplicate, we have charm, and I wanted to have frightened of some kind, so decided to go with that. So again, at 3rd level, you get 2 of these. You can use your Bardic Inspiration to use them. At 6th level, you learn a Crimson Curtain Masterpiece, a performance so powerful it can sway the opinions of an entire crowd. Again, as an action, you expend 1 of your Bardic Inspiration die to use a masterpiece, and you only get 1 of these options. So, Curtain of Illusion, I'm actually changing the name of this because one of the guys that I talked to said that if it is an illusion, the effect should be based off of an intelligence check, because the effect is you create a curtain of illusory fabric that fills a 20-foot cube centered on a point within 60 feet. The curtain is opaque and blocks line of sight. Creatures can attempt to push through the curtain, but doing so requires an action and a successful strength check against your spell save DC. While behind the curtain, you and any creatures you choose are invisible and have advantage on stealth checks, and it lasts for 1 minute or until you dismiss it. So, again, invisible is a condition. So this means that attacks against these creatures have disadvantage, and their attacks have advantage. On top of that, you know, it's impossible to see unless you have some kind of magic or special sense. So the idea behind this was just like, you know, people moving behind a curtain. That was, you know, the original idea. But whenever I brought this up, you know, somebody said, is it really illusion? And it is. So if it is, it should be intelligent, you know, like you're pushing through this illusion. I still want it to be illusory. Like, I do still want it to be the concept behind it, but I'm going to change it from Curtain of Illusion to simply Curtain Call. You know, that's a term in the theater. It's, you know, it's the Curtain Call. So just a simple change, you know, a little bit more aesthetics. Second ability, invisible audience. You can use your performance to create the illusion of an invisible audience, that an invisible audience is watching your performance for a minute. Creatures of your choice within 30 feet that can see and hear you must make an intelligence saving throw against your spell save DC, and on a failed, they become distracted by the invisible audience and their attention is focused on you. They now have disadvantage on perception checks and attack rolls against other creatures, or against creatures other than you, for that minute. And then we have Echoes of the Future, which, as you can see, echoes of the past, echoes of the future. You can use your performance to reveal a glimpse of the future. Creatures of your choice within 30 feet that can see and hear you must make an intelligence save. On a failed save, they are struck with a vision of their own death, filling them with dread. They now have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls for 1 minute or until they take damage. So as you can see, the Crimson Curtain techniques are generally stuff that last for until the end of the creature's next turn. Now, Dreadful Dirge is the only one that lasts for a minute, but it is the only one that allows them to repeat the saving throw. Whereas Crimson Curtain masterpieces generally last for a minute. So, the curtain lasts for a minute, your performance lasts for a minute, and this, where they have disadvantage on attacks and ability checks for that minute. Now, the difference is that this can only be used once per short or long rest, whereas these can be used as long as you have Bardic Inspiration die. And our last ability, Illusionary Maestro. At 14th level, you learn the Major Image spell. Let me say, this is the one ability that has changed the most over time. This spell doesn't count against your number of spells known, and you can expend 1 use of Bardic Inspiration to cast it at 3rd level. While concentrating on this spell, you can give your illusion material substance, allowing it to pass physical scrutiny and imposing disadvantage on intelligence checks to discern its true nature. Additionally, as an action, you can command the illusion to attack a creature within 30 feet of it. The targeted creature makes an intelligence save, and if it fails, it takes 4d10 psychic damage, half as much on a success, and you can use that ability once per long rest. The idea behind this originally was I was going to give the Crimson Curtain the Major Image spell as a cantrip, basically. And then I was going to allow it to have like physical manifestation. I took that away because I talked to a few people. They said that was a little more powerful than it should have been. So now these bards learn this ability, or they learn this spell. It doesn't count against the spells that they have, so they are just getting it for free. But if let's say you're out of spell slots, you can still use your Bardic Inspiration to attempt to cast this. While you have this, you have to concentrate on it, so that is definitely something that's gonna, put in some pressure on you, because you can only concentrate on one thing at a time, and you can't cast another concentration spell while doing that. And also, if you take damage, you have to make a concentration save. But the key thing about it passing physical scrutiny is if we look at Major Image, one of the things about it is that physical interaction reveals it to be an illusion. Now, a creature can also examine it using their intelligence investigation check, so that is something that they could still do. But what this is going to do is this is going to impose disadvantage on them, because it is basically real. The cool thing about Major Image is that you can add sounds, smells, and temperature to the thing you are depicting. So this is something that this particular bard can create such a powerful illusion that it actually has substance, that if you create what looks to be an ice golem, somebody could actually touch it and feel it. But if you do, it can also come back and bite you, and there's different ways that you could play this off. I was thinking to myself, if I was this bard, let's say I was in a fight with something and I create, how long until we make my almost evil undead circus ringleader? Maybe soon enough. Well, I'll maybe work on something. So one of the things I had, in my mind was like, okay, you can use major image to really create anything. So that fits in a 20-foot cube. So if you created, say, the illusion of a dire wolf, for example, that could very easily be described as like, charging forward and attacking somebody within 30 feet of it. Like, that is something that can make sense. But I also had the thought of like, what if you and your allies are trying to hide? You create this illusion of a chest or a box or something to hide your player, to hide your friends. You give it that substance, you use this ability, and somebody goes up and they're like looking at it. They never saw this box before. Where did this chest come from? And as they go to grab it, the reason I picked psychic damage is because, maybe they reach down for this box. You can have them make that intelligence save and kind of get this bad vibe from it. Like, oh, I shouldn't touch this. You're dealing a little bit of damage. You obviously wouldn't want to use it on a commoner or anything, but you can kind of give them that vibe. So, I still am open to suggestions with this. I have it posted in a number of places, and I'm looking to get feedback on it. But like I said, I kind of wanted to just go over, how I came about this, and just how, if you are interested in doing this, how you can actually create something like this. I actually have notes on the side, something I thought about as I was, putting this together. Again, it's another bard subclass. I mean, obviously I love bards, so it is what it is. But I had the thought of, because of a character that I actually played, who was Lakis Powalski. He was a tavern keeper, and, he was a cook and a chef, and he became an eloquence bard. Now, eloquence bard was really the closest thing that I could get to what I wanted. If we go down into here, eloquence, they have, silver tongue, so you can add, or you get a bonus to your persuasion and deceptions. You can make people doubt themselves. It's always about kind of like uplifting people and, using your words to really sell yourself as a bard. I played this character. I loved the character, but I wanted to, I thought to myself, okay, what if I actually had a subclass that was more designed specifically for him? So I have notes off to the side. I'm not going to put them up right now because they're still in their infancy. But I have written down College of the Keeper, designed for bards who are once bartenders, tavern keepers, and innkeepers. And then subclass should focus on serving people food and drinks, entertaining guests, and providing lodging. I don't know how I want to do it yet. I kind of like this Crimson Curtain technique where you could have two Crimson Curtain bards in the same party, and each one of them have different abilities. Maybe one of them has Echoes of the Past and Dreadful Dirge and Echoes of the Future. So their whole thing is just about manipulating people's memories and giving them this sense of unease. But you could also have another one who maybe takes Illusory Doppelganger and Disorienting Flash and Invisible Audience, where you're more focused on the physical illusions of the subclass. And then you could also have Siren Song and Disorienting Flash and Curtain Call if you want to be somebody that's more stealthy. You could blind somebody, charm them, and sneak past them, and then turn invisible. So I like that, and I want to maybe do something with that with my other subclass, where it's the Brewer's Boon, where you get proficiency in brewer's supplies and can make an ale or a wine or a mead that gives you hit points, but then also have someone, that's like a sandwich sauvignon, where your skills at making food is so exquisite that it can heal people. And I don't know, again, that's in its pure infancy. I just have a slew of notes, so maybe in the future we'll look more into that. But I am going to give this a save. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the UA formatting, because I like the original formatting. So yeah, like I said, I wanted to talk about this. I feel like this is an awesome resource and a great tool if you are interested at all in pursuing any kind of degree of interest in making your own D&D content. Something like this just gives it that added level of professionalism, and it's very much just done for you. And you can always, change stuff. I actually sat here for a while, so if you look off to the side, these pound symbols, they're actually what determine the size of fonts. So yeah, there we go. It only goes out to that far. So, depending on what you're looking for, I could have actually done something that I had thought of. So if we scroll down to here, if we get rid of these 2 stars, these 2 asterisks, because double stars, for if you didn't know, single stars will italicize something, double stars will bold it. I don't actually think there's anything that 3... Oh, it's both. There we go. But instead of doing it this way, I could have also done it. Oh, nope. It's got to be on this side. Bam, and... maybe not. Oh, wait, no, I know why. Doot. And then put that there. And then I could have done that with each one. Instead of having them bulleted like I have them. There you go. Something like that. You can, format this however you want. I am going to go back to how I had it, though. Cool. We'll give that a quick save. So yeah, spend some time with this if you are interested in it, and also explore it. Like I said, there's a lot of really cool stuff out there if you're looking for subclasses. Oh wait, no, I typed in subclass. I typed in subclass is. There we go. Yeah, as you can see, all kinds of different stuff. I actually looked into this Infernal Soul one the other day, so I kind of know this one. What is Jester? I'm very curious now. Unarmored defense. Okay, your AC equals 10 plus Dex plus Charisma. Insults. Anytime you grant, you can give it to an enemy, and you must... Oh, sweet. You can choose. Ah, nice. So you're basically insulting somebody, and they have to subtract your Bardic Inspiration die. Quick Wit. You gain Vicious Mockery if you don't have it whenever you deal damage. It is goaded. Goaded creature must make a Wisdom save. If it's success, it's no longer goaded. If it fails, it must attempt to attack. Oh, so yeah, it's basically like the... Not the command. There's a spell called Compelled Duel. Yeah, so you basically draw somebody in and they have to make wisdom saves, otherwise they can't attack anyone else. And anytime you give a Bardic Inspiration to an enemy, you give an additional one to a creature within 10 feet. Yeah, simple, very, very well laid out. One thing I don't do is, I don't really do art, just because I think it's a little too difficult finding it, and I also don't want to, make anybody upset, because even if you credit somebody, they might not like it. But yeah, cool barbarian, stuff about being able to be immune to fire and creating a tornado of fire around you. And what is origami? Sorry, this is more specifically for me. Third level, conjure shadows. While in conjured shadows, you may take the hide action as an action. Point location. If you're hidden... Wait, what? As an action, point at a location within 60 feet. A 10-foot radius conjured shadow is formed, which remains there. If you are hidden in dim light or darkness, you may declare that your shadow will walk. You move half your speed and create conjured shadow. Oh my god, this is... You may choose to remain hidden. Spell magic or anti removes. Okay. As an action, you may touch an object that weighs no more than 200 pounds. It is enveloped in an illusion that hides it for 4 hours. A DC 8 plus proficiency plus charisma, intelligence. Yeah, okay. Person, this is your spell save DC, pal. I get that you're a rogue, but this is technically just a spell save DC. If the object is moved, okay. Displace self and disappear. While in dim light or darkness, as a cunning action, you may select a location within 30 feet which contains it. Okay, I now see. So wait, can you... How many of these can you do? As a... And it remains until the... Oh, okay. But you really only get a good option to use it. Like, it is just making an area that you can hide in. But here's the problem. You're really not, like, hiding, because you're just creating an area of shadow. I guess it's 10 feet, so that could distract them. Okay. Shadowy Beast. As an action, point to a location within 30 feet that contains conjured shadows. The beast emerges from it. Your sneak attack, necrotic damage, or have as much on a success. Okay. You may touch a location as an action to place an invisible 5-foot ward. A creature other than you. Okay. Yeah. The reason why I actually was, like, interested in this is that Origami is a game that I play with my buddy Smith. So I didn't know what this was. I mean, it kind of has, like, it kind of evokes... Oh, here it is, yeah. Rogue enhanced by shadow magic based on the game Origami. I see what they're going for. Like, in Origami, you have this ability where you can, like, teleport to a location. You can turn invisible, stun creatures by, like, exploding light and shadow pulling them. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, I think this gets the point across. All right, so now that we have gone over that, I would like to do the thing that I have been talking about for a little while, and that is that I want to go over some questions that are asked to the community. As I have brought up before, this is the DM Academy on Reddit. This is the first time DM and other short questions mega thread. There's 227 comments, but not all of them are actual questions, and some of them are kind of long. But we're going to get to that in a minute. I actually have a list of questions that I pulled from the internet. And on top of that, I also had Stacy ask me a couple questions over in my Discord server. So if you are watching this either live or after the fact, and you have questions that you would like to ask me, feel free to ask them over at the Discord. There's a button right below my stream, or if you are watching live, feel free to just ask it in the chat. I see Glenn is here and he has a question he needs me to answer. Well, Glenn, I have a minute while I set everything up. So what is your question, my friend? What's the velocity of an unladen swallow? God damn it. Oh shit. What's the joke? Oh fuck. Wasn't that was from Monty Python, wasn't it? Shit, I don't know. Yeah, that's African or European. Oh boy. I don't know. I'll say I don't know, 15 miles an hour. There we go. I could be wrong. I don't know how fast the swallow goes, so yeah, so let me pull this up because I do plan on actually just like recording my answers off to the side, just for record. So I am going to answer Stacy's questions first, because those are the ones that were asked over in the Discord. Again, if you are interested in asking me your questions throughout the week and you want me to answer them at some point, feel free to head over to my Discord over at Kelth's Corner. Again, there's a button right below the stream. The link is also right above me, and you can ask me questions over there in the DM Advice Corner channel. But Stacy had 3 questions. One of them was just more of like a thing. So one thing she asked was about the Adventurers Club, the D&D Adventurers Club, that if I had a chance to dig into it and actually run it. So if you are curious about what the D&D Adventurers Club is, let me pull this up for you. So here it is. There is a website they have. This is a monthly subscription that you can sign up for, that you can get content, a small book that is designed for kids to play D&D with them. Now, there are other things out there. Gonna pull this one up because this is one that I have actually I've bought before. So something like this, for example, Hero Kids. This is a child-friendly version of tabletop role-playing, but I will state full front, this is not this doesn't use the same stuff for D&D. For example, its its character sheets are very different than what a normal D&D character sheet looks like. So for example, you can notice everything is just D6s, and the way that it works is the monsters would have a certain amount of dice. You know, they would have their armor class here, and they would have their attacks. And basically, if this warrior wanted to attack, say, a rat that maybe had 1 defense die, this warrior rolls 2d6, the rat would roll 1d6, and whoever gets the highest, you know, they're the one that win the combat. I think if it's a tie, it might be it meets it, it beats it, but I could be mistaken. So don't quote me on that. Yeah, so, oh God, where did my camera go? There we go. So yeah, Hero Kids is a, again, it's not really like D&D. It doesn't have the same system. It's the same concept in general. You're adventuring, you are going out there and taking on quests. You have different attacks and abilities. You can get magic items, but the inventory is very simple. As you can see here, this character has proficiency with speaking. They also have a whip, which I believe means that they have survival gear, and they also have 2 healing potions. So again, super simple, very straightforward, and it's real easy for kids to pick up on. The D&D Adventure Club, though, is more geared towards teaching kids how to actually play D&D. So with this, you are using the full array of polyhedral dice, so everything from a D4 to a D20. It has advantage and disadvantage. You actually have classes and whatnot. And the character sheets are actually all on their website. So these are all the characters that they have so far. And in fact, these are the 3 most recent characters that they added: Dr. Brittlebottom, Galith, and Rogar Lightbender. And as you can see, these ones are more set up to what would actually be a more common D&D character sheet. They actually have a level and a class. They have strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and all that. They have a, you know, this is a cleric, so they have turn undead. They're a dragonborn. They have dark vision. You know, these are all D&D spells. So, you know, and it does give you how many times you can cast them. So this is very much more if you want to get your kids involved with D&D. This is an easy way to do it instead of throwing them whole hog into just all D&D. Who the fuck wears glasses inside? I'll tell you who wears glasses inside. Let me pull up a picture of this beautiful, beautiful man. You want to know who wears glasses inside? Bam, Dr. Disrespect. Now, I ain't saying I'm Dr. Disrespect, and I'm definitely not wearing that style glasses, but, you know, you don't fucking talk shit about somebody who wears glasses inside. Dr. Disrespect is a goddamn god. So the question that Stacy had for me was if I had a chance to look into, I am going to take these off because goddamn, that is hard to read. The cream of the crop. Yeah. Randy Savage at his fattest. Oh yeah, brother, the cream of the crop. All right, we're not doing any more of that. I do like these glasses a lot. They kind of like squeeze my head a little and you know, give me a headache after a while. So really only good for a few minutes at a time. Also just for the bit. But back to what I was saying. So the way that this works is every month you get a different book that comes in. So I'm going to pull up, of course it didn't pop up. Wow, there we go. Why is that up there? That's weird. Ban him, Twitch. Heard it first. Lucas's heroes, Dr. Disrespect, who does shady things in bathrooms. Yeah, I guess. So when you get this, you get the quick start guide. Hold on, gotta turn these off. There we go. Put them on and look at all the screens. Need to know one point. Yeah, totally. So this is the quick start guide. This basically has everything that you need to get started. It has all the basic rules that you could ask for, you know, what the different dice are, all the ability checks and stuff like that. So this is what you get if you get the starter kit. And it also comes with one adventure, which is just really an encounter. It has, you know, stat blocks, and it also has a couple characters in the back. Now you are meant to tear these out. Sadly, or I guess not sadly, I refuse to tear these out. I don't think I could bring myself to do that. So wait, is this? No, that makes things worse. Yeah, I would not tear these out. What I actually highly recommend is just going to, why is that not working? I keep pressing stuff on my Stream Deck and it's just not working. So I actually just recommend going to their website, finding the character that your kid wants to play, or, you know, whoever is playing. Like, let's say you want to play as Snickers and Rogar Lightbringer, the two kind of dragon-y characters, because you got a kobold and a cleric. You can just print this out. Like, simple enough to print out. And in fact, they also have these paper cutouts. So if you want to print these up and then cut them, or adult who doesn't know a thing about D&D. So yes, to a degree. So here's the reason why I will say that I more recommend this towards kids. And it is mostly because the content in this is geared towards kids. There's really nothing overtly like scary in this stuff. Like, there is spooky, but there's nothing that is geared towards adults really at all. It is definitely geared towards kids. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't be a DM who says, okay, I'm going to, you know, I'm gonna do you know, this as for adults. I'm gonna ramp up the encounters. I'm gonna make things more, you know, more horror-esque, or I'm gonna make them more adult. You can do that, but if you are learning to run D&D, if this is your first forte into it, or not forte, your first foray into it, this is definitely more geared towards kids, and you may just want to focus on running the books as is. But again, D&D is all about, is interpretation, and every group's going to do things differently. So that is something to keep in mind. So where are we at now? Yeah. So, basically, these are the first 3 books that I got. I got the Skeleton Curse, Crag Manor, and Into the Gloomdark. Now, each one of these is part of a trilogy, and that's kind of the big thing, is that every book that they put out is part of a trilogy. So this was one trilogy, and this has been released subsequently. Now, what these are is they're pretty simple. They have maps in them of the locations. They have monster stat blocks on the sides. If we can get to a monster stat block here. There we go. Yeah. So we have stats for a mimic, their abilities and whatnot, stuff that they can do, and different things that are in there that, you as the DM are going to have to know. Now, to answer your question, if I have had an opportunity to run this, the answer to that is no. Fortunately, just really haven't had the time. A lot of stuff kind of going on in my life, and also I don't see my niece and nephew that often. So when I do, it's sometimes only for a couple minutes here and there, and I just, might not have the, availability to do it in that exact moment. But fear not, I do plan on doing it at some point, and when I do, I will be giving a review. I actually think I should have another one. Dr. Brittlebottom is not in my most recent one, so I might have another one floating around somewhere. But they're not bad. I have read, I read through the other one. I haven't actually read through these ones yet, but it's not bad. It's, it's a fairly short little adventure, and again, it's geared towards kids, but you can definitely change it up at your own desire to make it into something that is more geared towards adults. And it is very simple to run. There's not a lot in it that you have to, really worry about messing up. It's pretty straightforward, and it gives you enough information to really do what you have to do. So set those back over there. So, okay, to address what Jared's referring to, I am aware that Dr. Disrespect took a camera into a men's restroom, and yeah, that was wrong. That was stupid. I don't condone that, but I think Dr. Disrespect in general is just a great person and is, one of the realest people out there on Twitch. Would you run all 3 together in one session? Okay. Would I run all 3 of these in one session? I'm gonna say if you control the pacing enough, or if your players have enough urgency to get through this and you just stick to what's in the books, you could maybe run this in one session, maybe 2. I'm not gonna lie, so the first book the first book, the Skeleton Curse. I don't have my desk camera up. There we go. So the first book, the Skeleton Curse. This is basically like players are in town. They're approached by an NPC. They're told to rescue his dog. They get a ride down the river, or they walk up the road. They get to the manor. They have to get under the manor by going into this like sea cave down there. So if they come up the road, you know, not gonna be easy to do this, but that's it. Like if they come up the road here, they're gonna have to jump down into the river. If they come up the river by the boat, all right, no, the wrong way. If they come up the river by the boat, you know, they're just gonna be able to get straight into there. So could you run all of that in, say, an hour? Probably. As long as you kind of keep them focused, if you keep your players focused and engaged and keep the story moving. But in the beginning, there's an opportunity for your players to talk to folks around the town. So that in itself could take extra time. Again, if you as a DM want to make the journey from the town to the manor more than what it is in the book, because it literally doesn't give you, it's just you leave town, you're either on a boat or you're walking up the road and there you arrive. You could add something into there. You could add combat, or I think I brought up the last time about adding spiders or something down here, like, you know, adding spiders along this river that create giant cobwebs. So if you run it as is, yeah, you could probably get through this one in an hour. Crag Manor, though, actually has some like puzzles and stuff in it. It also has some more combat in it that might take the players a little bit of time to figure out. And then lastly, Into the Gloomdark is again kind of heavy on like intrigue and investigation and stuff like that, and figuring out like what's actually going on in this place. So it does kind of hit all the trappings of D&D. You have, you know, you have like social and combat and a little bit of exploration in this. Crag Manor has some puzzles as well as exploration, and then Into the Gloomdark is like intrigue and investigation and stuff like that. I would say if you run it as a one session thing, it's going to be like a 5-hour thing. If you are playing with kids, it's going to be hard to hold their attention that long. You could run one of these for kids in like 2 hours and probably keep their attention the whole time. If you're running them for adults, yeah, you could probably get through this as long as you stick to what is already there. Because at the end of the day, you can expand upon this. You can use this as a jumping board. I haven't had a chance to read through these. I'll probably get into that this week sometime now that I have all of them together. So imagine this is the critical failure story. Like the people sucked in is like, oh, it's the kids D&D, but you crank the difficulty to screw with them, or even you. Yeah. So that's actually a thing. Like you could very easily ramp up the difficulty with it. Like, it would not be hard to let me turn off desk camera. So let me pull up the map of Phandalin. Where we're at Essential Skits. Dragon Spire Peak. All right, here we go. So you would not be too difficult. It would not be too difficult to change the setting to the Sword Coast. You know, right now we're looking at like Neverwinter Wood. This is the Phandalin map, so you know most of you should be pretty used to this map. It would not be difficult to base the main city on Neverwinter and have this be the river that the players can ride up, or just follow this into the crag somewhere along this river in one of these bends. You know, each one of these hexes is 5 miles, so, you know, 5, 10, 15, you know, you got roughly, you know, a day's worth of walking to get through. You could put it there. You could change some of the monsters from like a simple zombie to maybe like zombie captains or skeleton guards. Change up how things work. Make the puppy that you're looking for now enchanted, now kind of possessed. You could add spiders and all kinds of stuff. You could really like crank it up. You could also add a hag somewhere, you know, if you wanted to have it like maybe the hag has taken over the place. So yeah, there's different ways that you could play it up. I was thinking about the whole paying for 3 months and how much game time. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it from the perspective of running for older people, it's really could be, you know, 1 5-hour session to get through like the whole thing. Can't speak to the second trilogy that I have, but you know, it really depends on how you as the DM want to run it, how much you want to put in of your own material. But at the end of the day, it also depends on your players. If your players decide that they want to spend a lot of time talking to people in the first town and getting as much information as they can, then they might spend an hour to just doing that, or they might spend an hour talking to people. You know, and that's where you as the DM kind of have to keep the pace and, you know, like, hey, you guys got as much information as you're going to get. You know, you feel like you're confident now to move on. So yeah, it can be, I would say if you really wanted to shorten it, yeah, probably to get through the whole thing, maybe 5 hours. Maybe in the future compare it to Hero Kids. I will say compared to Hero Kids are one-shots compared to what this really is. Those are just like it's kind of the same format, really. It's not broken up into different sections. I have a slew of Hero Forge books. I bought like most of the adventures and stuff. So with those, there's a lot of information. Like they have multiple encounters and there's like combat and all kinds of stuff. So with that, there is a little bit more to it. So yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna full screen that. It's gonna make my life easier. All right, so if you folks want to give me just a few minutes, I just gotta run to the restroom. I will be right back. All right, I am back. Sorry about that. Okay. Where were we? So, yeah, that's right. I was talking about the D&D Adventurers Club, but now I am going to answer Bo's things. I'm sure he was. Yep, that's what he do. All right, so we are going to why is that pulling up like that? Oh, I know what that is. Okay, I gotta fix that alignment a bit there, a bit off. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of leave you know, that part off of there, but yes, it is a map. But so the second question that Stacy had for me over in the Discord was regarding pop culture. She said, oh, thank you. So she said, it seems referenced a fair bit with regards to playing D&D and other tabletops in general. Like if a player wants to build a character based on some superhero or sees a cool creature in the newest fantasy-based show, it seems common that they will come to the DM and ask for advice towards creating that character or a spell to emulate some effect seen, and not even current pop culture, older well-known things like myths and legends. As someone who doesn't follow much pop culture myself, do you feel it's something helpful to keep some tabs on as a DM? I realize one can't keep tabs on everything, so then when something is referenced you don't know much about, not wanting to dismiss a player or discourage inspiration or enthusiasm, what would you or have you done? So to get to the core of the question of what to do when a player approaches you about a pop culture homebrew. So I have had this, and I have handled it different ways, different times. In general, what you want to do is, if you, yes, Jared, it was you. What you want to do is, if you have a player come to you who wants to emulate some character or wants to, you know, pull something from an outside source into your D&D game and, you know, have it tie into their character. If this is, say, maybe they want, they started playing Zelda Breath of the Wild and they want the Master Sword, where it's a long sword, but you know, it can have like so many uses per short rest of shooting a beam of force energy from it or something like that. So the first thing I would say is, if a player comes to you, listen to what it is they are referring to and try and distill down what can and can't be added to D&D. For example, if a player came to me and said, I just watched Naruto and I want to play as Naruto and I want to be a ninja who can create blasts of air and also create shadow clones. Well, that's fine. You know, that would take some work. You know, if you wanted to make that character, there is, it's not duplicate, it's mirror. So there is a spell called Mirror Image that creates illusions of yourself. That would kind of be like a shadow clone. You have different spells that are force or bludgeoning, a thunder wave, you know, because Naruto has his Rasengan and stuff like that. And then, but if they want to play as a ninja, you're kind of looking at a rogue. Well, rogues don't necessarily have anything tied to spellcasting except for arcane trickster, and that is more around more manipulation of the world around you with magic. So you get that like invisible mage hand, and you get a small collection of spells that you get access to. So if we pull up something like that, rogue arcane trickster, you can see that you do get, you know, some spells. I believe they're all wizard spells. Yep. So you might say to them, okay, well, you could play an arcane trickster rogue, and that might work with what you're trying to do. Or you could play a monk and go the way of, say, maybe the 4 elements, because 4 element monks actually get spells. So that could be something that you approach them with. But my biggest recommendation, realistically, would be to go to Google and type in Naruto in D&D and see if somebody has attempted to do this before. Because in most cases, they will have something. Variant human, Echo Knight fighter. Echo Knights get that duplicate. There's the shadow clone and the great old one warlock. So if we look into what makes the goo a great warlock, it's the telepathy, entropic ward. When a creature hits you, you can impose disadvantage. Yeah, so this is more about like shielding yourself off from the outside world and also create thrall. Again, Naruto's big thing is shadow clones. So you can do something like this. You could also do D&D Pokemon trainer in D&D. There's whole classes out there that people have actually made. 3D6, the subreddit known as 3D6 is great if you're looking for stuff like this. Here we go, a chain lock. If you don't know what a chain lock is, that's a warlock with the Pact of the Chain. That's Jared's character in Rime of the Frost Maiden Urard. Improved familiar, then lore bard for the rest of the way to get magical secrets, to get as many summoning spells as possible. Beast Bond, spiritual weapon, phantom steed. So to say my biggest recommendation, if a player comes to you and says, hey, I want to play a pop culture character, I saw this superhero or something, my biggest recommendation, look it up online and see if there is something that somebody has already done. If there is not, or it's something small enough, say again, like the Master Sword, that is something that you can just kind of work within the bounds of D&D. If you don't know what they're referencing, though, would I take, so this is the point I was going to get to. Would I take time to learn about the show? I could not care less. If somebody came to me and said, I would like to have the Bankai from Bleach, the Bankai, or Zanpakuto, is a sword that transforms that the main character Ichigo uses. It grows into a great sword. If somebody came to me and said, hey, this is the idea that I have for a weapon, is this something I can work with? I'll just ask them, like, hey, send me some material, show me what you mean. I'm not going to spend time to get involved with the show because I just don't have time for that. Law's Room ability from One Piece. I think we looked into something like that. What was that? Was it this one? Yeah, I think it was this one. So, you know, I really, again, I probably wouldn't even really, like, I maybe would watch a clip, but again, I'm not gonna sit there and try and take in the whole thing. I'm going to watch something that is very specifically about the thing they've approached me about. Because again, I don't have the time to sit there and dedicate to like some show just to maybe try and homebrew something for a player. But again, my first recommendation is and always will be just Google whatever it is they're asking for and D&D. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to find somebody who did this 3 years ago on the N-World forum, and there's like 1,000 people that have commented on it, giving better suggestions than what the first person asked for. So, Google the pop culture plus D&D. That's the first one. That's my first suggestion. Second, you know, watch a clip or check out the Wikipedia. So whatever they're sending you, if it's, you know, One Punch Man, Dragon Ball Z, you know, go to the website, see what it says, look up things that can give you ideas that can play into the game. When Jared and I first talked about his character, Gerard, it was based off of an idea that I already had. I said to myself, if I was making a Pokemon trainer in D&D, how would I do it? Well, first off, my thought was a ranger. Rangers obviously get access to a beast companion if you go the way of the beast, or if you go the Beastmaster Conclave. So I thought to myself, okay, I can just take this and I can modify it. You maybe with this particular design I'm going with to make it a Pokemon trainer is that you get a belt when you level up. You get a companion that is bonded to you. It's basically your Pikachu, and you can buy these orbs that, you know, maybe you get some, because I think in my original design it was like you have an amount equal to your wisdom modifier plus 1. And from that, you can catch creatures in the wild that fit this particular standard. You know, a beast no larger than medium that has a CR of 1/4 or lower. And then from there, I was like, okay, you can have, because in Pokemon, you get 6 Pokemon on your team. So, and that's all you could have. But as you are leveling up, you get access to more. So if you only have a 3 in your wisdom, you can only have 4 Pokemon, and you're already going to have your Pikachu. So that's going to be 1. So you can only catch 3 more. But if you raise your wisdom, you get another one. I also had it that, like, when you got to, say, level 5, you could get creatures of CR half. And when you got to level 10, you could have creatures of CR 1, or, you know, maybe go from 1/4 to 1, and then from 1 to like 3 or something like that. Again, obviously we did change that. So we ended up, whenever we redesigned the character, we decided to go with the Warlock. And we went Celestial. So the Celestial one was more tied to the specific patron and the story that Jared and I were building. So that was, or wait, no, it's not Celestial, it's Fae. I don't know why I said Celestial. It's where is the Fae? Oh, Archfey. Yeah. So yeah, you know, Calyrex is a Fae creature, so this is what that's based off of. But you know, you get Dominate Beast later on, so that kind of played into it. And I'm sure if I sat down, I could come up with, you know, a full-on subclass that is built to be a Pokemon trainer. But again, it just really depends on the amount of time you want to put into it. If this is for, you know, a player that is devoted to your game, you know, they've been playing for a while, they have this grand idea and a huge story, and you really want to devote that time and work with them, do it. You know, dig into the resources if you can and learn as much as you can and look into the subclasses. What would work better? You know, a warlock is really good because they get the Pact of the Chain, which gives them that improved familiar, because that's your Pikachu. You know, but maybe you could build a subclass that was, you know, the Pokemon, and instead of having Fey presence, maybe you get something that allows you to communicate with animals better, or, you know, however you want to do it. So what to do when a player approaches about a pop culture homebrew? First, Google it, just whatever the pop culture is, and D&D. After that, if you can't really find anything, sit down with them, watch a clip of it, check out a Wikipedia page, just Google the pop culture in general, and then try and figure out what is already established in D&D and see what you can work with within that. And if there is nothing that gives you anything like that, then at that point, you really have to start looking into homebrewing your own stuff, and that takes more of a time commitment. That's something that would be, you know, a whole discussion of how to take, you know, custom content, or, you know, like pop culture content, and how to actually customize something outside of the bounds of what's already created. That would be like its own discussion in itself. I mean, hell, I wanted to make a Super Saiyan. Luckily, that's easy because you could just play a Sun Soul Monk. Like, I wanted to play a Super Saiyan. Radiant Sunbolt is just a Ki Blast. Searing Arc Strike is a Kamehameha. Searing Sunburst is a Spirit Bomb, and Sun Shield is going Super Saiyan. Like, it's literally built to be that. So it was not difficult in any capacity. But there's not always that option. So yeah. So that would be my answer to that. And then Stacy's third question over in the Discord was I was thinking knowing more about pop culture would help the character evolve in the campaign better, but it would be okay. If you're referring to them playing through it as that character, if that is what you're referring to, I would recommend you telling that player, do not play this character to play this character. Okay, for example, if a player approached me and said, I want to play Goku, I would say, okay, you need to okay, if you want to play as Goku, I recommend playing a Sun Soul Monk. I recommend for your race that you play a Scourge Azamar, because they have an ability that allows them to start unleashing divine energy. Azamar Sun Soul Monk with, say, you know, the Phalos actually would be a good option, or the Wild Spacer, something, you know, something about them being from like beyond the world that we live in, or even an Outlander might do all right. There's another one that I'm thinking of that I can't find, or even Folk Hero. Regardless of the background, if a player came to me and said, I want to play Goku, I'd say, okay, cool. Sun Soul Monks have really awesome Dragon Ball Z kind of characters, or kind of abilities, and a Scourge Azamar can kind of go Super Saiyan, but it hurts them. And eventually, once you reach level 17, you actually get the Super Saiyan ability. Okay, cool. Now, once we make that character, I would explain to them, do not play Goku. Don't make your character an exact clone of Goku. Play a Saiyan. if you want to be somebody who crash landed to the world, was raised by a monk out in the wilderness, and you've been exploring the world, you are told these grand stories of these 7 orbs that can grant you a wish, and that's what you're doing. You're out there exploring. You already have one. It's the 4-star Dragon Ball, and you're out there exploring. As the DM, I'd say, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, we can maybe pop in these orbs throughout the campaign. Maybe you'll hear about them. But I would, if they start to play this character as a stupid, happy-go-lucky, always wants to train and battle, is always hungry, kind of oblivious to the world, but like super strong and really focused once combat is going and always loves a challenge, I would really pull them aside and say, you know, look, you need to make your character your own. Give them their own personality. Because the problem is that if they have this idealized version of the character they want to play, and it's based on a pop culture icon, somebody like Goku or like Naruto or Monkey D. Luffy or Izuku Midoriya, whatever the case may be, as things progress in the story, there might be moments where they, you know, might need to behave a certain way. They might need to do or act a certain way in accordance to their character development, but they might be so stuck into this concept of, well, Goku would do this, or like, I don't know what Goku would do, so I don't know how to react in this situation. Or, you know, like, oh, well, I'm a monk with, I'm Naruto, and my goal is to become my clan leader. But in order for me to do that, you know, I have to prove myself. So I'm out adventuring. Okay, that's cool. If you don't know every scenario that Naruto could get into, you're not going to know exactly how to play this character, depending on what the DM has in store. So when it comes to them actually developing a character, I would impose onto them, you need to make an individual character. If you want to base the loose idea off of the concept of a character, fine. But make them their own essence. Give them their own personality. Take Urard, for example, in Rime of the Frost Maiden. We could very simply say Urard is Ash Ketchum. He's out there traveling to be the very best like no one ever was. And Ash is so determined and always loves his friends, and he wants his pals to be safe, and no matter what he does, he's never going to lose his true heart and blah, blah, blah bullshit. Jared plays Urard as a kid who grew up with this connection to creatures and animals, and one day was approached by a mythical fae cabbage rabbit and was told, hey, I am partially responsible for some of your abilities, and I will help you become the greatest companion master if you go to the frigid north and get my horse back. And when Urard arrives there, he's, you know, like, yeah, I'm coming up into this world, and very quickly has kind of his spirit broken a little. You know, we've seen that over time. He has embraced the shadow weave and the shadowy energies. That is nothing like what Ash is, or any character in the Pokemon universe. And that's the beautiful thing about that character development. We've watched this kid from session 1 who, when the ship captain's one crew member was killed whenever the ship was wrecked, and he said fucking throw him in the river, and you know the party was like, what's your problem? He turns around and says, hey, welcome to Icewind Dale. Fucking people come here to die and be forgotten, so he's gonna die and he's gonna be forgotten, and we're gonna live on until we die and are forgotten. And we have seen that evolution of Urard's character over time to being somebody who he has these moments where he's starting to see things that way. That short time in the Dale changes people, and we have seen that evolution in him. And it's stuff like that that you really need to make sure that your player is willing to do. Because if you have a static character design and your player is not willing to deviate from that, there's no growth, there's no evolution to the character, and there needs to be something that shows that they have changed and learned over time. So to answer that question of if a player wants to play a pop culture archetype, how to handle character development, my recommendation, establish early that they need to build a character or a dynamic character of their own, and not just a copy paste of an established character. So that is my answer to that. I could end up focused too much on favorite character rather than, and that's exactly it. You know, if in their mind they're like, okay, you know, at this point this is what this character would be doing, or if they have their thought about like their character progression over the time of the campaign, they're not thinking about the group dynamic and where they are and how the campaign is actually affecting them, because in their mind they might be thinking, okay, I'm playing a Sun Soul monk, so when I reach level 17, this is the Frieza saga, because that's the first time he goes Super Saiyan. So that means everything in here is Goku prior to that, you know, and it's just getting there. So that's my recommendation. And then Stacy's third question was, when starting out DMing, might it be beneficial to consider doing one-on-one sessions, such as found in Duet D&D? Feels like this could complicate things once adding in 4-ish players, but also helps easing into things instead of into a full party all at once. Okay, so is it beneficial to run solo D&D before running for a party? Simple answer, no. Very simple answer. The long answer is, if you spend time running a game for a single player, the dynamic between you and that player is hyper focus 100%. As a DM, you are going to be in charge of maintaining the world and having a concept of everything going on. If you have only one player to focus on, you only have one backstory to incorporate into whatever adventure you're running. You only have to worry about one player's input on social encounters. You have only one character, one player to worry about solving puzzles. So if you are doing that, when you finally go into running for 3, 4, 5, 6 players, you might have a harder time now dividing up your attention to those 5 other players, you know, those 4 other players. You know, a classic D&D party is a wizard, a rogue, a cleric, and a fighter. So if you have 4 players sitting at your table, but you have spent, you know, sessions or, you know, a small campaign with just one player, you might turn you might turn encounters into hyper focusing to one player, or if you have a player that is more engaged than the others because of the way that you were running stuff, you might have that focus on just that player and kind of haze out from everything. I wouldn't aim at a whole game, but a few sessions per player. To that, personally, I still would probably say no, but that's all personal preference, really. I don't care much for solo D&D. The reason I don't care much for it is because if you only have one player, let's say they're a wizard. Wizards have a very specific play style. Generally, they're long range, they have control and utility spells, and they have a low hit point pool. So if you're running a solo adventure for a wizard and you ambush them with, say, 3 goblins, you'll probably kill them. Versus running a solo adventure for a barbarian where they might actually survive. So you have to very much, twist everything around that one player. Whereas if you have a party dynamic of 4 or 5 players, you have a gamut to run with. You have a wizard and a barbarian, and, there's a cleric and a rogue and maybe a bard that everybody can play off of. I am also not a huge fan of solos because it's a time commitment to only run with one player. If, for example, you were trying to get together a group of players, let's say you have 4 people that are interested in playing, but you want to teach them some of the ropes about D&D. Maybe they're brand new players and they've never touched the game, and you want to do one-on-ones with them. Well, let's say one of the players has, they work from home, they have a fairly easy job, they have all the time in the world, they're able to message you and develop a huge, cool concept character, and they're able to run one-shot sessions anytime you want. You might run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions with them to develop their character before the game, or to add to the game if you are actually running a campaign and you want to do one-on-one stuff. But you might also have a player who maybe they have 2 jobs and a family, and they have, a side gig that they're doing, and maybe they only have like an hour on a Wednesday night to really chat and talk and do anything other than like the 4-hour gap on a Saturday that they're allowed, to get away from everything and actually play something. It's going to be a lot harder to really dig into one-on-one stuff with that. So again, I think it really depends on who your players are, what you are aiming to do with it, because like I said, when I read this, I see this as something prior to running for multiple players. I don't recommend doing it if that's the case, because again, you need to learn how to run for multiple players, because that's the general design of the game. D&D is not meant to be run by itself. That's actually why in solo play, it tells you to take a sidekick. That just puts more onus on the DM, because not only is the DM now having to run all the NPCs and all the monsters, they're now having to also run another character. Or if you put that on the shoulders of the player, now you have a player that's trying to play 2 separate characters. And if they're just learning, it's going to be very difficult for them to learn all the abilities of a barbarian and all the abilities of a wizard, on top of their racial traits and feats and items and whatnot. So, in my opinion, is it beneficial to consider doing one-on-one sessions prior to running a larger group? No. I think if you are looking to become a DM and you are looking to get your feet wet, I would just find 4 people that know D&D, people that can actually help you get through it and that know how to do stuff. I mean, again, if they are willing to do it, they're willing to help you, learn that skill, that's great. But if you have brand new players, then yeah, I would say just struggle all together, you know, get all of them around the table and say, hey, this is my first time DMing, you know, we're going to run a little goblin ambush attack. And, you know, there's some stuff later on in a cave, like let's bumble through this together. I mean, that's what I did. I started running with, you know, 2 of my friends, and then we added on to there. So it, you know, from the beginning, I always had, you know, multiple players that I was having to divvy up my time with. And, you know, that's one skill that you need as a DM, is to be able to split up your time and your attention across everything going on. So yeah, again, short answer, no. Long answer, no, but with personal caveats. Again, if you like one-on-one D&D, do it. But if you plan on running for groups, it's not going to help you. All right, so those were the questions that were asked over in my Discord. Like I said, if you have questions of your own, go to the link above me, or just click the Discord button below my stream. That'll get you over into the Kelp's Corner Discord, and then from there you can ask me questions yourself. But I have some other questions that are on here, questions that I actually found online, that I think are actually good questions to have, you know, from various sources. I learned about D&D Duet shared in the Discord server. When you come across that sort of content, do you see it as something to turn into for I actually don't know what D&D Duet is. Like, this was honestly the first time that I heard about it. So I don't know. I don't really know anything about this. You come across, do you see it as something that's so looking at this, if this is like, obviously I'm, you know, I don't have this, you know, this is a level 1 to 10 duet campaign for $45. That's a bit pricey. In my opinion, I mean, depending on if it is built for single player combat or single player stuff, again, I don't know what's inside. I don't know what maps look like or what they have designed. But in my opinion, I think that you are better off taking one-shots and adventures that are designed for parties and scaling those back for single players. Reduce the amount of monsters, reduce the amount of hit points, make traps a little bit easier to see, make you know, skills a little bit easier to pass, add in a sidekick. You know, it looks like everything on here is pretty straightforward. This is Sketch Goblin's art, by the way. I don't know if they credit Sketch Goblin on here. The character art is from Adam of Bard and Loot. Who? Wait, is this? This is a guy who does art very similar. Hold on, Sidetrack. Hold on. Okay, it's kind of similar. Come on, there you go. It's kind of similar. in the design. It's both minimalist. Oh boy, that is weird. I really thought that this was Sketch Goblin. Very similar art. Oh yeah, there's more detail in there than Sketch Goblin does. He doesn't do eyes at all. Aw, Cogsworth. That's cute. Alright, so back to the matter. Crystalline Curse Trilogy. I don't know what that means. What is Crystalline Curse Trilogy? In the archives. Not seeing anything over in the archives called Crystalline Curse Trilogy. So, not sure what that is. Venture in the Storyverse 2 and a sample campaign sketch. All right, let's see what this is. Okay, PC motivations. All right, that's whatever. Okay, so basic straightforward information. What is this? Okay. Part of it, it's time to begin introducing the Storyteller's PC. DM PCs. I don't like those. And that's what this is kind of sitting on. In Discord. No, that's what I mean. I'm looking in my Discord. There's nothing in the archives that's called Crystalline Curse. So, not sure if it was just posted in the wrong spot or whatnot, but backstory: the true adventure begins. Initial encounter. Okay, so what is this? As they travel over the mountains near Oakvale, an ogre wanders across the PC and Seraphina's path the morning of their second day. Ogres are not necessarily the most observant creatures, so it's possible the party escapes. Oh, it's something that I already have? Oh. That's funny. An introductory duet adventure for one player and a DM. This adventure has been written and scaled for parties of 2, but one of the most important responsibilities is making adjustments, especially all right, so again, I don't like DM PCs. I don't think you should have one. I think you should have a sidekick that relies on the player to make the decisions. All right, so these are NPCs. All right, so history check. Basic trap. Yep. I'm looking for combat. Combat realistically is the only thing that matters when it comes to only having 2 players. I mean, when you have 2 players, or if you have a single player and a sidekick, all you have to really worry about is just making sure combat encounters aren't overdone. You know, if you have 5 players, you can throw a horde of goblins at them and it's not a big deal. You can throw a group of orcs at them and it's not a big deal. If you have 1 or 2 players, like it says here, a single ice mephit is waiting to attack them. Okay, that's probably more than enough. 1 ice mephit, a frost giant, or a frost giant statue. Oh, that actually helps you. Jesus. Yeah, like training guard melee versus range. Okay, I see what it's doing. Oh, it's very simple, very straightforward, but again, in my opinion, if you wanted to run something like this, introducing it as a DM and wanting to use it as becoming a better DM for what you will eventually become if you are running for multiple players, it is, in my opinion, better off just to start moving towards running for multiple players. I don't generally like running an NPC or a DMPC with the players. If you have one, they need to be a sidekick and they need to defer to the player to do everything. That is my opinion. So different DMs don't do that. There are some that have watchers and guides and mentors that follow the party the whole time, that save them from, and if they're not, you know, if they fall on hard times, that is something that they can help with. I don't generally like that. You know, if I introduce an NPC, like with, for example, Iggy in the P5 game, I got my hands off of him after a while because I did not feel right running him as a player or as a DM, because he was on the side of the players. One of the players should run him, which is why Smith does, because Smith knows how to play a wizard. So that's, and when I did run a solo game for Smith, because this is my experience with solo games, when your player gets stumped and doesn't know what to do, maybe they didn't figure something out, or maybe, you know, you kind of get into this point where like they're just not sure which way to go. You as the DM have to sit there and kind of grapple with the fact of like, okay, they don't have anyone else to, you know, lean on and say, you know, hey, what should we do? Or, you know, which way should we go? You have to be the one then to kind of guide them along, which in my opinion takes away the community aspect of playing D&D. The whole thing is that, you know, you and another player are working together. But when that other player is the DM and knows the secrets of the story, it's that DM has to be very particular about how much they help with, because again, it's about letting the players have the onus in the story. You're the DM, you have control over everything, your word is law, and because of that, you have a lot more power than the player does. So the player needs to feel that sense of power and control over the campaign to the degree that they can have. And you as the DM can take that away very easily if you are trying to run stuff. So again, kind of my point, is it beneficial to run solo D&D before running for a standard party? No. If you want to, do it. I mean, there's no harm in playing more D&D. It's just, it's not beneficial. It's not going to teach you or be a supplement to running for 4 players. The key things that you're going to take away from a solo game is going to be the same stuff that you would take away from a 4-player game, but a 4-player game, you're also going to be building up that skill of running for multiple people. You sometimes use Iggy to help remind us of things and suggest ideas. I, in general, only ever used Iggy to remind you guys of one particular quest. That was always my thing. Iggy had one quest in mind: kill the white dragon that killed his family. So that was Iggy's big drive. But to that degree, anytime that you guys were ever doing skill challenges or traps and stuff like that, I never imposed Iggy to do anything. You guys used Iggy like another player, in the sense of, hey, Iggy, can you cast fly on me so I can cast invisibility on myself? Sure, that worked. You know, hey, can you cast this spell that's ice so I can cast this one? And, you know, it worked. But that was always on you guys as the players to really have the final say in. I only ever used Iggy as a conduit to broach back to, or, you know, to recall back to that main first quest of stop the white dragon. Now that that's technically done, Iggy's main quest is kind of resolved. So he obviously would not pursue that at that point. So, all right. So again, these are some questions that I found online. I don't plan on going through all of them tonight. Maybe just a couple, picking and choosing here and there, because we've been going for about 2.5 hours. So I'm gonna roll D20 over here, because I got 20 questions. So that's how we're gonna decide. I got a 17. What are some strategies for building a compelling and immersive world? So my big thing about building an interesting world is fill it with interesting characters. As a DM, you're going to have the responsibility of... I dropped my D20. You're going to have the responsibility of engaging your players with the world. Those characters, those players, are going to engage with NPCs for the most part, but they're also going to, you know, engage with lore and bits and pieces that you can, you know, dish in there. But for the most part, it's really the NPCs that they meet along the way that they're going to build strong relationships with. And it's through them that you can create a living world. So one of the things that I would really recommend to build, you know, a world, and this can go with making your own homebrew world, or taking something like, say, the Phandalin area, the Sword Coast, you know, what is already established there. Look at the NPCs that the players are going to spend the most time with. For example, in the P5 game and in my GS game, takes place in Phandalin. The characters that the players are gonna, or the NPCs that the characters are going to spend the most time with, are going to be the generic ones in town. The innkeeper, the shopkeeper, the weaponsmith, you know, those are going to be your kind of key characters that your players can really grasp onto in order to build that sense of a living world. Have things happen to them when the players aren't around, and give them unique personalities. And you don't have to give them, you know, crazy voices and whatnot. You don't have to go so, you know, into the weeds that everyone sounds different. If do your own comfort level, but give them a personality, give them a drive, give them a flaw, give them a bond. You know, these are all things that players use to develop their characters. You should use them to develop your NPCs. For example, in my Phandalin 5 game, Tolbin Stonehill, when the players first meet him, he's this happy-go-lucky, you know, kind of a southern twang, you know, backwoods kind of character who he's just happy to help, and, you know, he's running the Stonehill Inn, and you know, the observant player might notice that he more or less runs the place on his own. You know, there's times where he's sleeping and resting that, you know, he does that when the place is quieted down, and, you know, he can actually have some time to rest. And a player who is invested in that might ask, like, hey, you know, don't you have help around here? You know, like, what if you need to, you know, go and do something? And, you know, he says, well, you know, you could, if you don't have like a deep NPC backstory to any degree, you might just get caught off guard with that. You know, it's, you know, oh yeah, well, you know, oh, I have workers, but you know, they're, you know, not here right now. You know, give them something, you know, again, use a generator online. You can very quickly, you know, let me see here, pull this one up that I use. Here we go. Yep. npcgenerator.com. Bam. Basic description. Anne Stonesworn is a 38-year-old female half-elf with long wavy gray hair, golden eyes, soft red skin, lean build, and slightly allergic to carrots. What is her main thing? She quietly worships the god of creation, jungles, Chult, the Chultians, and dinosaurs. So she's probably from Chult. Very empathetic. She judges people by their actions and not their words, and she knows all the gossip. And she's obsessed with a nearby tavern with an absolutely incredible ale. Cool. This is great. This gives you some basic things to go on. This character, you know, she's 38. She's, you know, middle-aged. She's empathetic. She likes people, but she doesn't really take people for their words. She sees what it is that they do, but she kind of keeps an eye on things around. When your players approach this character, you can really play into that at this point. You know, she has more chaotic tendencies, more neutral tendencies. So this is going to be somebody who is, you know, she wants to know what everyone's business is. She wants to know what people are doing, but you know, she feels for them. You know, she wants maybe to know what they're doing because she wants to, you know, maybe she wants to help them a little bit, or if she's obsessed with this nearby tavern with ale, maybe she's looking for people to drink with, so she gets to know everybody in town by all their gossip and then invites them over so she can have drinking contests, and maybe one day they'll pay for her ale. Right there, within 2 minutes and clicking a button, we have made a character with substance to them. I could drop this character now into any one of my campaigns in a tavern, and she might be sitting there, you know, just sitting in the corner, and she sees somebody, you know, the party walks in, they see this woman in the corner, middle-aged, long gray hair, slightly sunburnt red skin. She has a lean build, so kind of tells that maybe she works outside as a farmer. And you know, she's drinking this ale, and the party sits down and they're relaxing, and she says, oh, this ale's not that great. Did you hear about this other tavern up the road? You know, and the party's like, no, we haven't. It's like, oh, they have the best ale. You know, we should move on over there, you know, don't you say? 30, gray hair, 30. Yeah, well, you know, hey, maybe she just, maybe she dyes it. Maybe it's bleached. Maybe that has to do something. Who knows? This is why stuff like this is really good. You know, Cedric Commonbrook, 41, male rat catcher, short curly red hair, rough black skin, regular build, innocent face. He can't feel pain. Why is he a rat catcher? Because he can't feel the pain when the rats bite him. He openly worships Mystra, the goddess of magic, always has a backup plan, constantly looking for loopholes, always know where to hide, is fascinated by feathers. Yeah, in my opinion, this character, he's a rat catcher and is fascinated by feathers, and also worships Mystra and is kind of smart about things. This guy has a pet owl. 100%. Oh, he's actually an Oni posing as a human. I would change this to he's actually an owlin posing as a human. He catches rats because he eats them, or he has a pet owl and he feeds them to his rat, or I mean, to his owl, and he studies Mistra because he wants to be, you know, he wants to do magic. He wants to be a wizard so that he can, you know, speak with his owl or something like that. You can take stuff like this and very quickly develop interesting, evocative characters. That, to me, is one of the most important things of building an immersive world. Have characters that your players can grasp onto, and if your players, if you throw in a random ass character that you never think that somebody is going to care about, but your players grasp onto them, give them substance and build it with the players. In my GS game that I run at my local library, when my players entered the tavern in Phandalin for the first time, I described some folks around. I described that there were some dwarves, an elf, you know, some humans, and there was a gray dwarf sitting in the corner. Well, when you say you walk into the tavern, you see some humans, some dwarves, some elves, and a gnome, or a deep gnome sitting in the corner, the fact that you gave the sub race and the location of this character, that drew my players to them immediately. Well, they wanted to go over and talk to them. I didn't have plans for that character, so I quickly had to, you know, Google a name, you know, namegenerator.com, and came up with Bilzer. And okay, who's this character? Well, there's gnomes in and around Phandalin. They're down at the place of Gnomengarde, so yeah, they come from there. Well, why aren't they there? Okay, maybe they left. Well, why did they leave? Were they kicked out? Did they leave of their own accord? Okay, well, let's figure that out. Let's let the players help me along with that. And not even saying, like, looking at my players and being like, hey, what's this character's backstory? But just as they ask him questions, give answers and develop the character naturally like that. That gives credence to this being a world that your players can stumble upon. That in itself makes it very immersive. The other strategy that goes in line with this is let stuff happen to the world when your players aren't there or are actively absent. For example, in my Phandalin 5 game, there was a quest that the players had access to at a point to take a wagon of supplies up to a logger's camp where the town master's half-brother was located, named Tybor Wester. Well, the players, when they had gone off on their adventure, they had heard about this and they said, oh, you know, we'll have to handle that at another time. We have something else to go. Okay, cool. They went off, they did their own thing. So because of that, somebody else took that wagon of supplies up there. And the players, when they got back to Phandalin, they found out the place was attacked. They went down to Axholm, found out that the town master had been killed, and that somebody was going up to investigate and get a hold of his half-brother, Tybor. So players leave, they come back, and they find out that Tybor had actually been killed up at the loggers camp. Something attacked up there, strange, strange signs of distress up there. So because the players had other things to do, they had more important things to do on their own in their own head, they decided this is not something that we're going to handle right now. And when they came back to it, it just wasn't available. Now, they had the opportunity to go up and notify Tybor that Harbin had passed away, that he had sacrificed himself, but the players had to go to Lylon because they were told to go there by the Council of Neverwinter, or they were instructed to go by the Council of Neverwinter. So because the players never went up there, the logging camp was attacked, yeah, by giant boar. So that could have been avoided had the players been up there, but because of their absence, there's nobody up there to handle it. This is something that you as a DM want to put into your story. Offer multiple quests that spread the party out and make them have time limits. Make them have, you know, have a success story with it. Hey, you went off and did this thing, and because of that, this is the good thing that happened. Or, hey, you went off and tried to do this thing, but you failed. This is the bad thing that happens. And then have another one of an absence. Hey, you didn't handle this at all, and because of that, something else happened. And maybe you don't have to tell them directly that that's the case, but have it come up in conversation. You know, that's something that you can just throw in there as you're running the game. You know, you hear a rumor, oh, did you hear about that woman? Her son was found dead, like bite marks in its neck, floating down the river. I think they're claiming it was a vampire. This might, you know, tickle the party's thoughts as they think to themselves, we were asked by somebody to go and investigate a missing kid. Shit, we forgot to do that. And that allows your players to know, like, hey, the world goes on without you. Again, referencing back to my Phandalin 5 game, my players found out that after Adabra Gwyn, the midwife and, you know, caretaker of the Umbridge Hill Mill, after she was attacked and then subsequently taken down to Axholm, in that time frame, orcs took over Umbridge Hill, set up a small defense up there, and were kind of defending the place as having an encampment. That was something that, you know, just happened because when the players first encountered Adabra, she was attacked by a manticore. They killed that manticore. The manticore's mate came back, kidnapped Adabra. The players had to go and rescue her. She was very badly injured. They had her shipped up to Neverwinter. The party went about their business. They had quests to handle and story plots to deal with. When they were heading back to Phandalin, they headed back with Adabra. She was now healthy and ready to go back home. When they arrived in Phandalin, they found it destroyed. They were then taken down to Axholm, where they learned that kind of everything there was, you know, everything there was, you know, they were all sequestered down there because the Black Dragon cult had attacked. And they then found out that Umbridge Hill had been taken over by these orcs. All because we went to help Greymane. And that's it. You know, when you have, as a DM, you need to offer your players multiple quest lines that take them in different directions. And when they don't go to do one of the things, play with what happens, pull some threads in that other story and allow that to become the next big thing that they have to deal with. Escalate it. So we're getting close to 3 hours. My answer to this, what are some strategies for building a compelling and immersive world? First, develop dynamic, come on. I keep hitting caps lock. There we go. Develop dynamic NPCs for the players to interact with. Again, NPCs are your players, you know, eyes and ears into the world. They are the ones that are going to tell and show your characters, your players' characters, what is going on. The other one is allow for the gears to move in the background. So kind of a, you know, we'll do this. Yeah, we'll do it this way. Put in multiple quests and plots that take your players in separate directions and allow their absence. Oh my god, I can't spell. Oh my god, I can't spell. To mean something. So there we go. Those were the questions I was able to answer tonight. So, you know, again, while this was something different, you know, I know we didn't do Calendar's Dungeon tonight, but I feel like we got a good bit, we got a good bit through, and, you know, had a good time here. Answered some questions. What to do when a player approaches about a pop culture homebrew. Just Google it, search up, you know, whatever the pop culture is in D&D. If a player wants to play a pop culture archetype, how to handle the character development, establish early on that they need to build a dynamic character of their own and not just play a copy paste of that character. The reason for that is because you don't want them getting locked into the design of an established character and not evolve with the story and what makes sense for the players and the group. Is it beneficial to run solo D&D before running for a standard party? In my opinion, no. The things that you learn for running for 3, 4, 5, 6 players outweighs what you will learn running for one person. And if you want to run for one person, do it, but don't do it with the reasoning of this is going to help me run for 4 players or more players later. And finally, what are some strategies for building a compelling and immersive world? Develop dynamic NPCs for the players to interact with, and allow for the gears to move in the background by putting in multiple quests and plots that take your players in separate directions and allow their absence to mean something. So those are this is the first of hopefully many streams like this where we just kind of hang out, chat and talk, and, you know, just go over things together. Like I said in the beginning, I am kind of moving away a little bit from Calendar's Dungeon just because it's a lot of stress. But this is something I really want to do. So here's my ask. If you have questions, if you see questions out there that pique your interest, say if you go to the DM Academy Reddit page and you see a question that you would like my opinion on, go to my Discord, follow the link above me, or click the button below me that says Discord, join the server, and there is a channel under the Tavern category known that is the DM Advice Corner. You can ask your questions in there and just you can tag me in there, or you can just post them in there, and I will save them for the stream and answer them. This way we can kind of learn as a group together. I might also offer my advice in there, just depending on if it's something short, sweet, and to the point that I don't really have to elaborate too much on. But hey, you know, I like to elaborate on stuff. So I do appreciate everybody who stopped by tonight. We had a couple voices in the chat, so thank you for that. Again, hopefully I can keep doing this Monday night stream where it's just kind of a chat and relaxation and nothing too structured. But you know, like I said, we'll see. I hope Dungeon 23 comes back. I don't know. Like I said, I may have burnt myself out on it with how I was trying to do it, so it might come back in some way, in some form eventually, but we'll have to see. I don't know. I haven't decided on that yet. I need some time away from it, so we'll see what happens. But that's going to do it for me, folks. So again, really appreciate you hanging out with me. Check out the Discord. Swing back here on Thursday where we'll be doing the first 15. Also over there, regarding the first 15, I'm doing a giveaway for the game Biomutant. If you are interested in that game, where you play as an animal kind of creature running around with swords and spells and whatnot, join that. That giveaway ends in 3 days for a Steam code for the game Biomutant. So yeah, head on over there to the giveaway tab. So thank you so much. I will see you guys later.